his passion for tennis is undeniable. From being a pro player to being a coach, he has been spreading the love for his sport and even advocating for children with disabilities to pick up a racket to enhance their development. Welcome to the BNC studio, Tavyn Libao. Hello, Coach Tav. So nice to see you off the court.
Yes, likewise. Erica, Anton, thank you for having me in your show. It's a pleasure to be here.
Of course. It is our honor to have you here, Coach Tavyn. All right, now let's start off. I know that you've been teaching professionally tennis for 13 years now. Tama ba, Coach?
That's
13,
correct.
Right? Okay, so how has the transition been like from being a pro player to now teaching pro tennis?
You know, one of the biggest things I learned from playing tennis and switching over to coaching is that to play the sport it's a completely different skill as teaching the sport. You know, when I started coaching and volunteering, there was a bit of frustration on my end because I wasn't able to impart the knowledge that I wanted for these kids to be successful. I realized that I had to break it down to more of like a layman's terms, to really break it down to fundamental ways so that they can absorb that knowledge, so that they can also like see it from a beginner's perspective. And the second thing that I learned also is growing up, I played it more like a physical game. I thought whoever had the biggest forehand, biggest serve will win. But now I see it from a cerebral aspect. I see that yes, the physical aspect of the sport is very important, but now I see it from strategy, from different angles.
Right.
And I think those are the biggest changes that I saw in my perspective switching over to coaching.
That's very important, especially your mental game.
Yes,
I think that
absolutely.
plays a huge part in tennis.
Absolutely.
So speaking of mentality, how do you build mental resilience in the sport?
Very good question. You know, resilience is very difficult. I think the way to really just do it is to practice, to expose yourself as much as possible to different tournaments, to different match plays. And that's, you know, one of the other ways to go about resilience is keeping an open mindset rather than the closed mindset. Sometimes when I see my students like hit double faults, I ask them like, what do you say to yourself? They say, okay, don't double fault. But rather than being a passive don't double fault, what I tell them is to have something actionable, say something more active, like say visualize and aim higher over the net. And I think sometimes that in itself solves that problem.
That's a very good
Coach,
tip.
before we went on air, we were talking about how this is actually the first time that we're having tennis as a main topic here on the scorecard. We're seeing a lot of your photos here on the big LED screen. For those who might be unfamiliar, could you tell us a little bit about your background from when you were a player and how you got into coaching?
Yes, definitely. You know, growing up, I started playing around 5. It was a family activity. It's something that I played with my family every Sunday. Unfortunately, growing up, I didn't like the sport. I was forced to do it. I saw it more as a chore. It wasn't until I moved to Redlands, California that I met my high school coach, Sean Comadina, that really showed me that the sport can be enjoyed. You know, Sean Comadina was very positive in his influence towards me in getting coaching. And when I saw that I had potential both as a player and as a coach, that's when I really grew passionate for the sport.
Yeah, I mean, how could you not love tennis?
I know.
I fell in love with it the first 5 minutes I held a racket.
Good. I'm glad to
Especially,
hear.
no, I mean, like it's so helpful when you're so stressed, right? And then you just hit the ball, and then like that first hit talaga, like it really you know, it's like that feeling, eh.
I agree. You know, for me, tennis is therapy. You know, when I'm on
It
the
is.
court, everything else is silent, and just the sound of the ball, the feel of the ball, that in itself, you know, lifts my mood up.
Okay, Coach Tav, just out of curiosity, what is one thing that you wish you knew as a player that you're now emphasizing as a coach to your students?
Good question. I wish I enjoyed the sport a lot more. You know, being on the court, sometimes the stress of practicing, the stress of competing gets in the way. But really being present on the court and really enjoying it first, I think is one of the best ways to approach it. That way it's a more sustainable way. You're more motivated to come back and train the next day, really.
Coach, now that you're in a different chapter with regards to your tennis journey, you're imparting your wisdom and knowledge and experience to the younger generation. Tell us about that and, of course, your tennis programs as well.
So, you know, like I said, now my number one priority, of course, is to be able to teach them the basics of tennis. But the first thing I really make sure is that I'm able to share my passion. And for these kids and these clients to really enjoy the sport first. If they don't enjoy the sport, most likely they're not going to try it again. For me, it's a lifetime sport. It's something that you can enjoy as you grow older. I still play until now with my tatay, and it's something that, it's a shared activity for us. So first, like I said, first and foremost, what I try to do in my coaching philosophy is for them to really enjoy it first.
And you know what, Coach? When I played with you the first time, I definitely felt that.
Good.
Because even if I was making mistakes, you were just like, sige lang,
Yeah,
paano ka
go
lang
lang."
dyan? Yeah, just go. Like, you'll get the hang of it eventually, right?
Yeah.
So I really felt that aura from you, Coach. Now, okay, let's move over to on a more serious topic. I want to pick your brains a little bit as a pro tennis player, of course. Let's talk about the most recent issue, which is super hot in the tennis world right now, which is the recent 3-month suspension of Jannik Sinner due to his doping violation, right? Now, the reason why it's become such a hot topic because both professional players and even tennis fans alike are not shying away from expressing their disappointment to the ATP organization for even deciding to ban Sinner for 3 months. Kasi a lot of them were explaining, parang ang daya daw na how convenient is it that this issue has been going on for a long time already and they only decided to ban him so conveniently just at this time when there are no Grand Slams happening in that period. So what are your thoughts on this, Coach Tab? And do you feel that integrity in the sport of tennis has been lost?
I don't think so. I think the integrity of the sport is well intact. It is quite controversial. I cannot blame the ATP or the governing body who decided on this. This is definitely a business decision. Of course, if the number one tennis player is not playing in a tournament, there's a higher chance that less spectators are going to be watching. However, let's see it from a bigger picture. There was no malintention on Jannik Sinner to gain an unfair advantage on his competitors. So just that, and then also him graciously accepting the decision and saying that he is accountable not only for his actions but also for his teams. Because I think what really occurred here was the physical trainer bought a spray that unfortunately carried like a substance that was banned in the WADA, and it was sprayed on Sinner for a cut or for a wound. And after that, when it occurred, Sinner accepted it, and it is quite convenient that he's going to be banned for 3 months right before the French Open. But the bigger picture here is there was no intention for him to gain an unfair advantage over his other tennis players.
Yikes.
And this is also, Erica, not the first time that an athlete who has popularity has been involved in this kind of situation.
Exactly.
A couple years back, Kiefer Ravena was also involved in such kind of situation where he was unaware that he took a substance that was not allowed by WADA.
Yes. But you know what? One thing is for sure, his physical therapist must have been fired because of that accidental spray, right? All right, Coach Tab, now let's move over because Anton and I have like a hot seat. We're going to put you on the hot seat for a little bit here. Okay, and I hope you tennis fans watching here won't get mad at Coach Tab for whatever opinion he puts out on the show. All right, let's reveal the top 10 men's tennis players of the 21st century. Now, Coach Tab, take a good look at this list. Let us know what you think of this, and perhaps maybe you even want to replace someone on here. Okay, give us your thoughts.
Well, first of all, I would like to commend you guys for this list because I think this is a pretty accurate depiction in the top tennis players in the past 10 to 20 years. However,
I agree.
If I were to change one thing, I am a big fan of Stan the Man or Stan Wawrinka. Yes. Wawrinka has one of the best one-handed backhands ever.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Stan Wawrinka was plagued with a few injuries during his tennis career.
Yeah.
And unfortunately also, he played during the golden era of tennis. So he went against Roger Federer, Novak Djokovic, and Rafael Nadal, who are the best three.
The big three.
The big three, and the best tennis players, I think, ever. So if I were to adjust this list a little bit, I think controversially, I do apologize for the Stan fans. I would take him out. I would take him out.
Who would you replace him with?
I would
Can I guess?
Yes.
Yannick Sinner.
Good guess.
Oh.
Good job. Very good job.
You know why? Because I was actually gonna say that. Put Yannick Sinner in, but for me, not Stan. Leighton.
Leighton.
I would
Leighton
replace.
Hewitt.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's also pretty good.
Okay, just for the record, are you okay with this ranking? You have Federer at number 1, Djokovic at number 2, Rafael Nadal at number 3. Are you okay with this? To you, Coach Tav, who's the GOAT when it comes to tennis?
You know, that's a very tough question, but I am a big Roger Federer fan. I know that Novak Djokovic has 24 Grand Slams.
Yeah.
Rafael Nadal has 22.
Yep.
And Roger Federer has 20. So technically, Grand Slam wise, he is on the 3rd. But I think in terms of being the GOAT, Roger Federer is definitely my top 1. His influence goes beyond the court.
Yes, exactly. I was just gonna say that, Coach Tav, because for me, being a GOAT doesn't only mean winning all of these gold medals.
Absolutely.
It's actually about influencing, you know, like something beyond the sport, which is exactly Roger Federer, because he has made tennis mainstream what it is today.
Exactly.
And we can all thank Roger Federer for that.
Yeah, the reason why I brought that question up was because of what Coach Tav mentioned, the number of Grand Slams. Because when
Yes.
people get into these barbershop arguments, that's all, he's number 1, Djokovic is number 1, he's got 24 and Nadal's got 22, so how can you put Federer over them?
Exactly.
Now, for a last question, the most number of Wimbledon titles belongs to Federer with 8. Australian Open, of course, Djokovic got that. French Open, Rafael Nadal. Do you think it's because of the prestige of Wimbledon? That's the reason why many consider Federer as the GOAT.
Yes, partly so, but I think the way grass court plays is definitely conducive to the way Roger Federer plays. He's
Yeah.
a serve and volleyer, very dynamic on his feet and the way he volleys. So I think that's the reason why. If actually, very good perspective. Each of them are pretty much like king of their own courts. Roger being at grass, Novak being at the hard court, and Rafael Nadal, of course, being king of clay.
Very good insights, Coach Tav. I love it.
Wait, who's your GOAT?
My GOAT is Roger Federer. Federer talaga. But if we're talking about
okay,
millennials,
okay.
Sinner. For me, Sinner.
Okay.
But also because I'm half Danish, I'm gonna go for Holger Rune.
Oh, Rune.
Yeah.
Rune
Yes,
is a
because
pretty
he's
good
Danish.
Yes.
Anyway, Coach, this was a great discussion and a great first episode with tennis as the main
Yes.
topic. Coach Tav, thank you so much for the time.
Anton, thank you.
Thank
Erica, thank you
you.
so much for having me.